Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Carson Fontaine, and today we are going to be talking about Hans Holbein the Younger. This is going to be more of an art history lecture, but I will be talking about some of the religious paintings that Holbein created. So, Hans Holbein the Younger was born around the 7th of October in 1497 in Augsburg, Bavaria. There is not an exact record of when he was born, but scholars have been able to deduce his birth based on a silver point drawing of Hans and his brother Ambrosius. We can see that drawing here on our left. Hans is the young man off to our right, and Ambrosius is on the far left. Not much is known about Holbein's childhood, but it is highly likely that it was his father, Hans Holbein the Elder, a Gothic painter, who was the one to train Hans Holbein the Younger in the arts. Holbein spent an extended period of time in Basel, Switzerland, where he met his wife Elsbeth Bisenstock, and they had 2 children. While in Basel, he also became a master of the Painters Guild. As the Protestant Reformation swept Europe, it became increasingly difficult for painters such as Holbein to find work, and he was primarily employed by humanists. Holbein did portraits of a Christian scholar named Erasmus, which gained Holbein popularity, and in late August of 1526, Holbein traveled to England at the behest of Erasmus. Holbein returned to Basel in 1528 and stayed there for 4 years. The city, however, had become politically and religiously unstable during his absence. Artistic imagery was banned from churches and being removed by reformers, and either being burnt or sold as firewood. The turbulent state of the city probably contributed to his motivation to reside elsewhere, and he once again left for England. On returning to England, Holbein distanced himself from the humanist circles that had employed him on his first trip, as they had fallen out of favor with reigning monarch Henry VIII. Instead, Holbein found himself employed as a portrait painter for wealthy Lutheran merchants. In 1533, they commissioned him to produce a street tableau of Mount Parnassus for the coronation procession of Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's second wife, and many believe that this is what got Holbein the position of the king's painter. On our left, we can see the painting of Mount Parnassus, and on our right is arguably one of the most famous paintings of Henry VIII, done by Holbein the Younger. His drawings that precede the portraits were unbelievably detailed, and because he used such thin layers of paint, you could often see the original red crayon through it. By having the red lightly show through the ink, it created more complexity and depth in the faces that he drew. He would use pink paper, which was prepared in advance, to draw his sketches on. This pink color helped make the gray shadows pop more, and it also simulated the complexions of the person that he would be rendering. Holbein liked to add things like drapes, carpets, rugs, and shelves to his portraits to add more dimension. His mastery of texture is renowned. A painting that really shows his skill is the one on our left. It is the portrait of a lady with a squirrel and a starling. The way that he paid extreme detail to the fur on the squirrel really shows his skill with painting wet on wet. So on our left, we have Lady Jane Seymour. She was the mother to Henry's heir, King Edward VI. But before she was Henry VIII's 3rd wife, she had been both a lady-in-waiting for Catherine of Aragon, Henry's first wife, and Anne Boleyn, Henry's 2nd wife. She married Henry, but never had a coronation, so technically she was never truly a queen. She sadly passed away in October of 1537 due to a fever caught after she delivered King Edward VI. It is thought that Jane Seymour was the only wife that Henry ever truly loved, because after her death, he is said to have worn black for months after. He also waited until 1540 to remarry. Seymour is also the only one of his wives to be buried with him in the same tomb. That wedding in 1540 was to be to the woman on our right, Anne of Cleves. They were married for 6 months, but he got the marriage annulled in July of 1540. Holbein was known for creating a more flattering likeness in his portraits, and it is said that Henry thought that Anne of Cleves was not as beautiful as she had been said to be. Quick side note, if any of you guys like musicals, might I suggest the musical Six? It's about all of Henry VIII's wives, and there's a song, actually, that talks about Holbein's portraiture work. It is very, very fun. So, this is the painting of the dead Christ. Holbein decided to go very realistic in this painting by having Christ's eyes and mouth wide open to truly show the suffering that he endured. He also went as far as to include the green hue of rotting flesh, which has been interpreted to make the resurrection even more powerful, seen as not only is Christ dead, but he has even started to decompose. Holbein wanted to focus more on the humanity of Christ rather than his divinity. Art historian, and please bear with me on this as I try to pronounce this gentleman's name, Oscar Sachman, said Holbein transformed the image of the Christ at rest into the dreadful vision of a corpse, that of a man who had been condemned to death. Only the specific character of the wounds betrays the identity of Christ. This macabre way of looking at Christ's death is not original to Holbein. Many Protestant artists at this time were making gory and dark pieces of religious art. Now, I do not speak German, so pardon my pronunciation of some of the following words. This is the Schutzmanntelbild, or the Virgin of Pity painting, is also known as the Madonna of Jacob Meyer zum Hansen, and it shows Jacob Meyer, a Basel official, having invoked divine protection for himself and his family. He is portrayed to the left, his eyes looking upwards to heaven. Opposite of him are his two wives. His first wife, Magdalena Bar, who died in 1511, is positioned behind in profile, and in front is his second wife, Dorothea Canongeese, in three-quarter view. Before them kneels their only surviving child, Anna, but to the left, in front of Meyer, are thought to be his two deceased sons. Above them towers the Madonna, cradling the infant Christ. The buckled carpet upon which they stand demonstrates Holbein's skill in crafting lifelike texture and light, but also serves as a symbol of wealth and to draw the viewer into the pictorial space so that they too are welcomed into the group, sharing the divinity bestowed by the Madonna and Christ child. This is one of Holbein's most famous religious works, and art historian Helen Langdon attributes its success to its depiction of individual human identities combined with spectacular spatial control and illusionism. Holbein was an exceptionally talented artist and had some slightly uncommon techniques when it came to his portraits, like his use of light layers over red crayon to add depth. His attention to detail is impeccable, and he proved himself to be a master of painting textures. He made portraits feel very real by adding personal items, furs, rugs, and carpets into the background. As we can see here, there is a globe, there's multiple globes, and a lute. Holbein's work is still praised and admired today. This concludes my lecture. Thank you for your time, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thank you.